Uh, Welcome, everyone. This is our 5th business broadcast. We've been doing these calls as a resource to provide valuable information to our business community. It's been a challenging time for many, so we hope to get you the resources you need to help your business succeed. The business community is now in a different phase of the COVID-19 effect, and there is still so much for businesses to process. We encourage you to reach out to us or any of the other resources available to help navigate through the programs, regulations, or general business needs. We're always available to answer questions. Just a quick disclaimer, we want you to know we are working to provide the most accurate and reliable information, but as we've all seen over the last several months, so much is unknown and changing rapidly. We also know that each individual business is unique, so if you have additional questions, please reach out to a resource. The purpose of today's call, we just want to say we began the business broadcast calls at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic to help provide immediate resources and tools to our area businesses. We wanted to be able to answer real-time questions. We will be continuing these calls monthly, bringing you new resources. We will also be using it as an opportunity to engage with our business community and providing information on some of the programs we are doing in our office. We like this platform because it allows you to ask direct questions and us to give you real-time answers. These calls will be scheduled the second Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Mountain Central Standard Time. We hope you consider joining us at that time, and if you can't, each session will be recorded and another chance to listen. Today, if you have questions while we're on the call pertaining to the topics that we're presenting on, you can submit them live via the Zoom chat to ask us a question here, or you are welcome to submit questions at any time to businesshelp@bowmannd.com. As I stated earlier, these sessions will be recorded, and a copy of today's call will be posted on the Growing Bowman County Facebook page or posted on our YouTube channel under Bowman County. On today's agenda, we have Duane Bowman with Dakota Western Bank. Myself, I'm Taryn Dorr, Executive Director of the Bowman County Development Corporation. We will be having Shelby Kincaid, our Project Coordinator for the EDC here, and Brooklyn Englehart, Creative Marketing Coordinator, also talking about a few projects we have going on. Today's topics will include information on the Paycheck Protection Program, forgiveness portion, as well as discussion on new programs from the EDC, including the Community Challenge, Business Challenge, and on the market event. Please don't forget to submit any questions during the presentations, and we will take time to answer them at the end of the agenda. With that, I'm going to say welcome to Duane Bowman with Dakota Western Bank. He must not have thought the first call he was on went too badly, so he was gracious enough to join us again today.
Well, I'm really glad you put that disclaimer on there, because there is no doubt that this thing is changing rapidly. So I'll fill you in on what I know, but it has been a moving target that there continues to be additional changes made.
Yeah, and we hope you come back in a few months when this forgiveness finally closes out and businesses are wondering more on how to fill those applications out.
Yeah, I hope by then we have a little more clear guidance.
Well, thank you. And I will let you start if you want.
Okay. I'm sure most of you have probably heard, we talked, what's it been, 8 weeks ago, I suppose, when we originally talked about the application part of it and tried to explain the program. And at that point, it was very new legislation and there was a lot of information out there. So we tried to give the best guidance we could at that point. And since then, there's been a lot of those unanswered questions have been answered. And now we're to the end of the 8 weeks and the forgiveness part of it. The application has come out, but I can tell you there are as many unanswered questions again right now as there were before. A lot of you probably heard last week there was the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act was signed. It was signed by the House and the Senate and then was signed by the President, I believe, on Friday. So the intent of that legislation was to fix some of the shortfalls within the original PPP, which launched in early April. We're going to go through a few slides that have some of the main points. We won't go into a lot of the specifics until we know more, but I will go into some of the highlights from this legislation passed last Friday.
Sound good?
Okay, the one thing when this first came out, to calculate the amount that you were eligible for, you took your payroll, monthly payroll times 2.5, and then you had 8 weeks basically to spend that. So one of the main things, the new legislation, it now allows 24 weeks instead of the original 8 weeks. So this now will go, instead of a lot of the businesses being eligible right now, it's going to add another 16 weeks on, and they're going to have until basically December 31st of 2020 in order to use that period for their loan forgiveness. Definitely the intent is probably to allow for more business to have 100% forgiveness on their loans. Okay. And at the original time when it was done, the payroll expense were required to be 75% of your, it was basically supposed to match what your monthly payroll was. So over that 2.5 times your monthly payroll, 75% of that loan amount was supposed to be spent to keep your payroll at least the same. Now they've reduced that to 60%. PPP borrowers must spend at least 60% on payroll, and none of the loan will be forgiven. Yet 40% can be utilized for other expenses such as rent and utilities. The previous PPP would allow a sliding scale if the 75% payroll expense wasn't met, but it seems that it was left out of this new bill. This means that at this point, all or nothing for loan forgiveness. I really think this is going to be changed. I don't think it was the intent. Everything I've read, and I'm sure that's one of the things that's going to be coming out in the next couple of days, where they will change that. I think they're going to leave the 60%. That's going to stay the same, to where you only have to spend 60% of your expenses have to go towards payroll. You can use the other 40% elsewhere, but I don't think it's going to be an all or nothing.
All or nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
I like how they add a little disclaimer at the end of all their information too, like
Yeah.
This could still be changed.
And it will. Okay. Borrowers can now use this 24-week period to restore their workforce and wages to pre-pandemic levels as required for full forgiveness. This must be completed by December 31st. The previous guidance, the deadline was June 30th of 2020. So that's going to help, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in these slides, but it's certainly taking longer than expected to get workforce back to the full levels. Okay, this act will allow borrowers to receive the full PPP loan forgiveness, even if they are unable to fully restore their workforce. Previously, PPP borrowers were allowed to exclude employees who turned down good faith offers to be rehired. This bill will now allow borrowers reporting adjustments if they could not find a qualified employee or were unable to restore business operations to the February 15th, 2020 levels due to COVID-19 operational restrictions. So what that means, there's a safe harbor provision, and it's going to allow until December 31st to get back to basically the pre-COVID levels of employment. So instead of June 30th, like I said, it's taken too long to get back there. So they added a little more time to try to get back. It's also going to allow you time to both get your full TEs, your full-time equivalents, back to pre-COVID levels, and also to get their wages back if you did cut them. So it's allowing a little more time there. And it also allows a little leeway if you're unable to restore this because of your business operations being restricted, such as restaurants and some of those that were required to be closed. It's allowing a little more time to get back.
Okay.
That I do think there's going to have to be more guidance out on that. They're saying this, and it definitely sounds good. It's encouraging to hear that, but they haven't put the specifics in as far as what that means. Okay. The loan payment period was extended to 5 years from the original 2 years. Existing PPP borrowers can be extended up to 5 years under an agreement with their lender, and the 1% interest rate does remain the same. I think this is one thing I don't see this being that's going to happen a lot, just because I think more of them are going to be fully forgiven, or if there is a small balance left, they may not want to go 5 years on it. And like I said, the borrowers or the lenders, do not have to go that 5 years on it. They have to work that out with their lender. So we talked a lot in the beginning about some of the expenses. Obviously this was done mainly to maintain payroll, as 75% originally was to be used for payroll. Now they've cut that back to 60%. But there are other expenses that we talked about originally. We'll talk about those again So potential allowable expenses, and I'm going to say potential on this because that still isn't 100% clarified as well. And these expenses needed to be expenses that you did have itemized on your Schedule C or Schedule F or 990 forms from 2019. Okay, so on the utility side, it would be electricity costs, gas used for your business-owned vehicles, natural gas, telephone, including both landlines and cell phones, internet access, water bills, maintenance service, trash pickup, cleaning, and then business lease, equipment leases, and interest on an automobile business loan. And as far as on the farm and ranch, same thing, it's going to be, any of these types of things, especially fuel is going to be one of the biggest ones. And almost everybody's going to have those on your Schedule F, and those do qualify your fuel expenses. Other documentation that you should be keeping, payroll documentation. Obviously, you're going to want to have your 940, 941 forms, any type of verification that's going to come from a third party provider. But your payroll records is going to be the number one thing that you're going to need to bring into your lender that you're going to have to provide. So typically, like I said, it's going to be the 941 form that's going to be filed. If you're an agriculture producer, it's going to be your 943. And then if you're a business that does have like health insurance or retirement, that was part of your initial application, you're going to want to bring in a receipt or cancel check, account statements, anything that verifies the amount that you paid for health insurance or retirement during that period. Okay, on the application, you do need to calculate your FTEs, your full-time equivalents, your full-time employees. So that's typically going to be included on your 941. We'll talk a little bit about this in the application, but you are going to have to go through and calculate your full-time equivalents. And there's two ways to do it. There's an easy way to basically where you just use, if it's a part-time person, you can just use half, regardless if they're working 30 hours a week or whether they're working 10 hours a week. You could consider them just a half-time employee, so 0.5. Or you can actually calculate by the number of hours that they average working. So if somebody works 32 hours a week, 32 divided by 40, which is considered full-time, be 0.8. So two ways that you're going to have to be able to calculate that. And that's all part of that forgiveness application. Non-payroll expenses. So we talked about the payroll side. On the other expenses, so rent, utilities, and mortgage interest are the other expenses. So other requirements that you're going to want to keep track of, business mortgage interest payments. The easiest way is probably to get a copy of your amortization schedule, or your lender should be able to provide that amount of interest you paid during that 24-week period. Business rent or lease payments. So you're going to want to bring in probably a copy of cancel check is probably the easiest thing as far as on a rent. You might have your rent, your lease agreement, and then your business utility payments. So a copy of any of the canceled checks or receipts from those payments. Okay, so as far as the application, and we won't go into a lot of this, like I said, this is something that when you look at the application the first time, believe me, is going to be intimidating. It's 11 pages long, but about 6 of that is instructions. And you bounce back and forth. It's not as hard as it looks, but it's very intimidating to start with. So number one thing I'm going to say, just the advice I'm going to offer, spend some time reviewing the application very carefully before you start with it. The information you're going to need to get, the SBA PPP loan number and the lender PPP loan number, those are going to be on your original promissory note that you signed with your lender. And if you don't have that, you probably need to get it from them, but that needs to be on this application. The disbursement date, that should show right on your promissory note as well. And then the next section there, the employees at time of loan application, that is your total employees. So it's not your full-time equivalents. There's going to be a spot later where you're going to calculate that. But that you filled that out on your original application as well. So you may need to talk to your lender and get that number that you plugged in there. And then same thing, your number of total employees at the time of forgiveness application. Okay, the rest of this I won't spend really any time talking about, but that's going to be the number one thing. Spend some time studying that application. Okay, so advice. So just like we talked about before, take some time, study your application, be patient submitting your application. Make sure you have everything put together. It's going to make it a lot easier if you take some time and put your documentation together. So second part, document. You need to keep your information for 6 years. So make sure you get it all together, get it in a file, and you're going to want to hang on to it. Okay. There's no deadline for forgiveness there. There is, but obviously it got pushed down the road quite a bit. So I assume most of the businesses are going to be able to apply for forgiveness much earlier than wait the full 24 weeks. They're probably going to hit their, have enough qualified payroll expenses or other expenses to submit their application. But just make sure you have everything in place. So somewhere between that 8 and 24 weeks, 25 weeks, 26 weeks, wherever, when you have your stuff together, visit with your lender and bring that in. Okay, and then beware of scams. There are plenty of scams out there. The application website is not listed on there. I'll make sure they get that out, but it's on that Treasury website, the same place that you went to do your original application. The loan forgiveness application is on there as well. And we will be, I know we've talked a lot in our bank, and I'm sure a lot of the other banks are the same way. We've really wanted to reach out to our borrowers that took advantage of this to try to give them a little bit of information, but unfortunately all these things were changing. And we knew that, there was so much talk with that 8 weeks being extended to 24 weeks. So we haven't reached out as much as we intended to. Now, once some of these things are finally finalized, we will be reaching out more. But like I said, that application is very intimidating. It's not as bad if you've taken a look at it, but if you do need some help, certainly visit with your accountant. Some of your accountants helped fill the original application out. The SBDC, the Small Business Development Center here, is willing to help out with those applications. So that is really nice to see. I think we're one of the communities lucky enough to have one right here. So that's great to see. And then certainly your lender can help out as well. The lenders have to certify the borrower's application. So unfortunately, we can't do it for you. We can definitely help and we can provide some guidance, but you're going to have your documentation and you're going to have to put as much of that as you can together. But like I said, don't be afraid to reach out for some help with some of the places around here that can help.
Okay. Just a couple questions before we let you off the hook, and we'll definitely be taking questions at the end of this as well. Please remember, if you do have a question, you can submit it via the Zoom link under Ask for Help right here, I believe is what it's labeled. One of my questions is, if a business hasn't applied yet, can they still?
They have until June 30th. They haven't changed that deadline, and I think that's going to stay in place. So even though this goes now until December 31st, the application deadline will be June 30th. There is still some money available. So yes, if you haven't applied, you still can.
When should they get in contact with their lender?
I think once they feel comfortable that they have all their documentation together, and once they have had a chance to look at the application and have probably filled out what they can on it. There's a few different places in there that get a little bit cumbersome where you're bouncing back and forth between pages. The instructions get a little difficult to follow, but not everything pertains to everybody. If you're a self-employed or a contract, there's very little part of the application. And the other reason we aren't reaching out is I do assume the application is going to get amended because of these changes. It about has to, because the original one was an 8-week period. So we assume the application is going to be amended and maybe simplified, hopefully a little bit at that point.
And I know you mentioned the lender has to certify the application.
Correct.
What is the borrower's responsibility on the application?
Well, the borrower is certifying that the information is accurate. So they're going to want to gather as much as they can, and they're going to have verification of it. For the borrowers to certify, they're going to need to bring that documentation in, such as their payroll records, the rent that they paid, utilities, anything like that, that they're claiming this is what I paid during that 24-week period. Here's my verification of full-time equivalents. They're going to want to bring that in so we can use that information to verify.
Okay. And then one question that we got from our listeners is, the PPP Flexibility Act based still on the original amount approved?
Correct. It is. Yeah. So you were approved, for just 2 months of your payroll, average payroll for 2019 or the last 12 months, and then take that times 2.5. So your dollar amount of your loan does not change. You just have a longer period to utilize those funds.
Spend it down.
Yeah.
I know that several businesses that 8-week time period, they were unable, whether they couldn't get the employees hired back on, or they, their business had to shut down for a period of time. And so they were concerned because the time period didn't work. So that is a nice ad for those businesses.
Definitely what it was designed for. I wish we'd have known this at the beginning, because it certainly would have probably made people's hiring or decisions a little bit easier if they would have known that this would have been implemented, but they didn't know that at the time. So certainly it's fulfilling the original purpose better now, but yeah, it's allowing at least a little extra time to get those employees brought back. Hopefully the businesses are reopened, people are going in there, maybe some of the restrictions are removed from restaurants and some of those that can operate at full capacity.
Right. Another question from our listeners, is the 60% the only portion that would be forgiven, or is it the full 100%?
Yeah, we do assume it's going to still be the full 100%. It's just they lowered that amount that only 60% for sure needs to be used for payroll. But that's the part of the guidance that hasn't been issued yet that we think will come out, because if you have cut back and even over that 24 weeks now, you can show that 60% was spent on payroll. Well, that's what you were supposed to spend in 8 weeks. Now you've got 24 weeks and you're still only getting to that 60%. So you definitely have let employees go most likely or cut wages. So you may still be subject to less forgiveness. Okay. But those numbers aren't out. That's hopefully part of the new application to know how to calculate that side.
Okay. And then, so can I apply for forgiveness, or can a business apply for forgiveness as soon as they believe they've spent the loan amount, or do they have to wait until the end of that 24 weeks?
Nope, they can apply for any time. So yeah, we do assume that some of them will be applying shortly.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's kind of nice too, because it was going to be such a rush with, all of these applications coming in at once at the end of this 8-week period. Now it's going to be spread out a little bit longer.
Yeah, I got an email from SBA, and this number's out there, but North Dakota lenders processed 18,925 Paycheck Protection Plan loans for a total of $1.7 billion for small businesses. So you don't want all those businesses to run in on the same day and try to process these applications.
Not necessarily, no. And that's, and really there was an article came out, I think it was in Fortune or Forbes, I don't remember which one, but North Dakota basically on a per capita basis was number one in the nation as far as the loans that they got out to their businesses. So I think it says a lot about the people here, that their work ethic and really go to bat for each other. So it was really neat to see.
It was really cool on our side, the lenders in our community especially. We really saw the banks step up, reach out to their customers, get them through the application process. And we saw so many of our businesses access the program, and it was vital in their survival. So definitely thanks goes to the banks for the work that you guys put in on this. That was huge.
Well, the businesses are, what keep the banks going too. They keep the community going. So yeah, it goes both ways. And the businesses were they were aware of it, and they got information in right away. And yeah, they definitely appreciated it. And hopefully it gets this corner of the region going quicker than other areas.
Yeah, we're seeing it, it's starting to look a little bit more normal out there. And as Duane mentioned, you can reach out to your lender, your accountant for help on the application, but we do house a small business development center in our office here as well. So we definitely encourage, if a business wants help gathering some of that information or filling out that application, we are willing to assist in that as well. So did you have any last comments you wanted to add on this before we?
Yeah, just, I think the number one thing, be patient on it. We will, and I think all of the lenders are going to be reaching out to their borrowers that took advantage of the PPP, but we just want to make sure the information is good and clean at that point. The application is a little bit more concise. So, just be patient on that aspect, but continue to gather your documentation, look at that application, but just know that it could change, and hopefully it is simplified a little bit, and then take advantage of the resources to help you out with that application so it's done correctly. And
I was on a call the other day with SBA, and they mentioned that some of the formulas from the original application were actually now different than the formulas used on the forgiveness applications. So I'm sure some of that will.
Yeah, it would actually make it impossible for self-employed to get 100% forgiveness. There was no way they could have qualified for 100% forgiveness.
Under the first formula.
The first formula. it wasn't going to be a lot left, but it was going to definitely be some left. So it's going to, hopefully that's going to be changed. And that I haven't seen, how the self-employed is going to be, because they, basically had an automatic 75%. What they could essentially pay themselves was going to be forgiven. They still had to provide their documentation. If they extend this now to 24 weeks, or now that they did extend it to 24 weeks for the self-employed as well, I'm hoping that their application is much simpler and that they will receive just 100% forgiveness.
Yeah, that will be good to see and a relief for many. If they are unable at that time, just a quick question, like if they don't meet it, what does that look like? Do they need to pay it back at that time? What's that loan look like?
Yeah, you're going to have to talk to your lender at that point, but most likely if there is a balance left, you're going to have the option whether you want to pay it off, or if you do have a balance left, you're going to be able to term that out over, for sure the 24 months, which was the original agreement, or go possibly a full 5 years if your lender agrees to that. And it's probably going to be whatever you're comfortable with for payments. A lot of people don't want to necessarily have a long amortization on it, so they may want to just get it paid off, but they're offering a little more flexibility. I think they're trying to take the burden off these businesses as much as possible.
Okay. Well, thank you. If you guys any listeners have any additional questions, we'll definitely take more at the end of this call. But with that, we do want to use these business broadcast calls as a chance to just give an update quick on some of the projects we've got going on here in the Development Corporation. It gives us a chance to answer some real-time questions with our community. And so we are going to visit with you a little bit about some of those today. So I do have Brooklyn and Shelby here today to visit about some of those projects, and they are so excited to talk about them. We are going to start with Brooklyn. She is our creative marketing coordinator, and she's going to visit with you a little bit about our Bowman County Community Challenge that many of you have seen out on social media.
Yeah, so as Taryn said, hopefully you've seen this out a little bit everywhere. It's been a little bit of a process. We gathered the applications first, and now we are actually voting to see which one's going to come about. But it's a new project in 2020, and we knew there were a lot of ideas that people had to just help make Bowman even better than it was, and maybe they had the idea but didn't know how to get it off the ground. So we wanted to make sure that we could provide that funding for them. So Tax and Tourism actually gave us $10,000 to award out to that winning project. And this year we have 4 that have made it to our live voting round. We were excited to see applications from youth, individuals, and businesses. So anyone was able to submit an application in Bowman, Scranton, Rayne, Gascoigne, anywhere. We were excited to see one that was actually in Gascoigne. And then we had a 5-panel judging panel that helped us ask more questions and make sure that these projects were feasible and that they had everything thought through, so that when we do take them to the live voting, and if they win, that they can be sustainable in our community. So in that judging panel, we had Quinn Melmer, Ken Dobitz, Nick Walker, and Brenda Wedwick. Now, this is where we need the community to let us know what project you would like to see brought to our county. We have 4 proposed projects, and they are the community garden west of Sunrise Village. We have a canine agility course and competition at the dog park. And we have a kayak and canoe rental space at Gascoigne Lake. And then we have the splash path at Rotary Park. So you can go every day to createbowmancounty.com and vote for your favorite project. And after that, when all the votes are in and compiled, that one that has the most votes will win our $10,000 and have until December of 2021 to make it a reality in Bowman. So we are so excited for everything that was brought forward. We are excited to see that the community has been sharing it and voting, and that they are behind it, and we just want to see what you want in Bowman.
Very good. Yes, this is an exciting program. Just launched this year. This is our first year doing this. Yep. And it's really cool. We have a lot of great ideas across our county, and it gave us a chance to really help others make those ideas come to life. And so we're very excited about it. The decision will be made. What was the date you said the decision?
The end of the voting is June 16th. Okay. So you have one more week left to vote as many times as you want. Once every 24 hours per device you have. So just get them in there.
Get on crazy. Vote. Yes, very exciting. Well, we look forward to seeing who the winner is and seeing that project come to life in our county. So thanks, Brooklyn, for sharing on that. Next, right alongside the community challenge, we are running the business challenge. This was created to spark new ideas and encourage entrepreneurship in Bowman County. So I'm going to let Shelby explain a little bit about what the Business Challenge is and how it got started. And she'll also let you know how you can participate.
Thanks, Taryn. The Business Challenge is also a new project for 2020. Similar to the Community Challenge, we know there are many that have ideas and new business ideas or expansions they want to do on their businesses, and we want to encourage and assist in bringing those ideas to life. We want entrepreneurs to bring forth their ideas and aspirations for the betterment of the county. And the next slide. The application rules and eligibility are available at bowmannd.com/development/business challenge. Applications will be received through July 21st. We have asked a panel of judges to assist in reviewing applications. Judges include Andrea Bowman, Melanie Dukert, Dan Brose, and Brian Opp, and our own Taryn Dorr. The judges will have a chance to look over the business pitches and provide feedback to the applicants. They're tasked with the difficult responsibility to narrow down the applications to 5. The top 5 applicants will receive their initial applications back with scoring and notes in order to consider revisions to their plans before the live pitch that will occur on August 11th. As the business ideas develop, it's important to talk about the idea and get others excited about it as well. And the live pitch will allow the applicants that chance. The prize package is available. First place will be awarded a $10,000 forgivable loan from BCDC. And it'll also provide services from our local businesses that have donated business cards. We've had some banks agree to waive loan fees, such as Dakota Community Bank and Dakota Western Bank. Second place and third place will also not walk away empty-handed, and you just never know who else may be interested in assisting these ideas becoming a reality. The Business Challenge is open to individuals, groups, or business expansions willing to be part of Bowman County. The ideas are out there, and the Business Challenge is a perfect opportunity to hone them in on the next big thing.
Very good. Well, thank you, Shelby. We're excited about this one too. It's also a new first-time project for this year, really trying to encourage those business starts and expansions. I think there's a lot of creative ideas out there for businesses. We hear them often, and a lot of times it just takes an initial bump. And so we're hoping that this prize package and the competition will help spark some of those people to take off with those ideas and run with them. So looking forward to that and seeing how that all comes out. We are going to visit with you on one more new project this year, our On the Market event, and I'm going to turn it over to Brooklyn and let her introduce what that one is.
So all 3 of our new projects this summer kind of just go hand in hand. So On the Market, even though you aren't a business owner, you'll still find this valuable and fun and history and all that stuff. But On the Market will showcase 7 of our available buildings in Bowman that you could use as a space for your business. So that will be happening on July 7th. And whether you're looking for that brick and mortar business location, or if you're curious about the history, we are showcasing the history of 2 of these buildings. You're going to want to come to On the Market. The purpose of this building tour is to see the empty buildings filled, to spark ideas for the Business Challenge, and to bring attention to the beautiful buildings that have so much life left in them. On the Market is a guided tour that will showcase the 7 businesses for sale, lease, or rent. These include Shopko, Sears, Hibachi House, Dale's, Hawks Landing, Schmitz, and Super Value. We want to use the tour to help visualize possibilities and generate ideas. Therefore, each space visited will allow for creativity to flourish and learn from the past. We have created 4 activities: a dream space, an architectural rendering, staging, and history. Some buildings will have multiple activities to make this tour hands-on and engaging. Dream spaces allow you to write down and share what you envision could really do well in this space. Who knows, maybe you will spark someone's next business idea. The architectural renderings will be done on 3 buildings to showcase that a little bit of a facelift can change the exterior and make a building feel brand new. We will also be staging a building to showcase a business that is different for Bowman County, but could easily exist in one of our existing buildings. Lastly, we will be showcasing the history of 3 of our buildings. These buildings hold so much meaning and tell such a story about Bowman's history. We will showcase timelines, pictures, and personal anecdotes. You can buy a ticket online at onthemarket.eventbrite.com. They are $15, and with it, you will wrap up the evening's tour with a parking lot party, including a barbecue, drinks, a s'mores bar, music, and so much more at the old Super Value building. So we want to see you there. We want to see you having fun with us. We want to see you in the buildings that have maybe been empty for a little bit.
Yeah, I know the office has had a lot of fun with this project, discovering the histories of these buildings, talking to some of the old owners of them, which I know those people have enjoyed. We've seen pictures shared, and so it's going to be a really fun event. I'm really looking forward to it, and seeing, the insides of these buildings that a lot of people haven't seen for a long time, and just hearing the ideas that people have. So looking forward to that. Yeah, so if we have any listener questions, please feel free to submit them, and let us know. Just, yeah, you guys have anything else to share on your projects?
That we want you there so much. We know that our community is great, and it's great because of you. So we want you to show up at these and just share what you think we can do and what you think others can do to just keep making Bowman County a great place to be.
Very true. So if we don't have any other questions, we will go ahead and wrap up today's call. So just a reminder, go to createbowmancountydom.com/vote to vote for your favorite project. These people put a lot of time and effort into these applications. They did an excellent job, and our selection committee, they did a really good job vetting these projects and pushing them to think through some questions. And so we're really happy with that. You can also go to bowmannd.com/development/business challenge to find out more about that project as well. We're really trying to get some businesses to look at starting up, and we've actually seen some applications go out for that, so we're really happy about that. And then the next thing is onthemarket.eventbrite.com to get your ticket for that event on July 7th. We're really looking forward to that. We're thankful that our building owners were willing to let us access their buildings, and we're looking forward to the ideas that come of that. Our next business broadcast will be on July 13th at 11 a.m. We will bring new resources and another update on what the Development Corporation has going on. So with that, I do want to thank Duane for joining us today. You did a very good job. I know it's a hard program to explain with all the changes, so thank you for coming over here and doing that for us.
You're welcome. Hopefully there's a little more clarity in a week or two. I know there's supposed to be, the Treasury and SBA issued a joint statement yesterday. They expect guidance coming out very soon. So
okay, very good. Well, please reach out if you have any questions on those programs. We're always happy to help. And I want to thank Shelby and Brooklyn for talking about these projects that we've got going on. And we look forward to sharing more at our next business broadcast. So thank you, everybody.